Okay, my name's Clare. Welcome everybody to Monday night meditation. This is the first of the month for me, so I'll be doing February. And can I get an indication of how many people are new here? Ooh. Okay. Also, did anybody do the Tara practices, the Tara nights? Yep. Nobody else? In January? Yeah. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll start the way we normally start, which is with what we call refuge and bodhicitta. And it's this is a Tibetan Buddhist centre. So it's all there's the Zen, there's the different types of Buddhism, but they all come from the Buddha. Just different cultural things, different different ways of doing it, but it's all about the same stuff. So the Tibetans, as you can see, use a lot of imagery. We're not Zen here. So it's the way that we start is with this refuge and bodhicitta. So we go for refuge in the Buddha as a source of guidance in a messed up world and our messed up lives. To sort of after sort of studying this for a while or looking into it for a while, you make your own choices about whether it resonates with you or whether it works for you. But for Tibetan Buddhists, we've sort of especially Westerners, you take your time and go slowly with this. But I've been here, it's now my 31st year that I've been coming here. So I've been doing this for a while. I never really looked back. I came in on a Monday night, just like you, and have been studying here ever since and meditating. And don't take me as your example of how it ends up, but I'm trying. So it's all slowly. And we have here some Tibetan teachers who are quite wonderful, special people that you meet them and you sort of think, oh yeah, that's a nice person, and they're a great inspiration to us. So we refer to them as the Sangha, and that comes up in the prayer. And then we do this in order to, yes, help ourselves, but in fact we're just one person or one being, and all other beings are suffering. Everybody is, every sentient being, down to insects and slugs, are all struggling for survival and suffering. So in this refuge and bodhicitta is the notion, and it's going to come up more tonight, that ultimately I would like to be able to benefit all sentient beings, not just myself. And there's power in that. That initially we might start with our family and those close to us that we have love and compassion for. We want them to be free of their suffering. We want them to be happy. And we can extend this out. And so that there is great power in benefiting other people and helping other people. We know that it feels good to help others, so that if we can extend our minds out to think of all suffering sentient beings, then there's actually great power in that for us and relief in our own minds. So I'll start with the prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So giving and the other perfections, when we refer to that, it's you start your practice with giving. And all of this meditation and the philosophy, it's all about letting go of our self-cherishing thoughts. Me, first. And the more I was reading about this today and thinking I've been doing this for a very long time, and I can still see how tricky my mind is, the excuses I make for my own behaviour. And so we're constantly working to try and become more selfless. And so by giving to others of your time, of material things, of whatever that person or being needs, just a moment of kindness is giving. Giving protection is giving. So in those moments we're not thinking of ourselves. And in those moments of giving and helping someone else, it actually makes us feel good too. So the extension of that is that the more that we think of others and give, within our limits. It's not about being silly and overextending yourself, but just trying to be a little bit generous in our hearts and minds, and then that lets go of our self-cherishing in the moment. The other perfections are giving, I haven't thought of this for a while, giving generosity, morality, patience, concentration and wisdom, joyous effort and wisdom. So through giving we become better people. Because you're thinking less of me, you're less likely to do something bad or selfish for your own gain if you're thinking of others. It loosens your choice. It helps you to make better choices about, like doing something a little bit for your own gain. When you're thinking of others, you're not going to do that. So you become more ethical. You make those difficult choices because you know you're more aware of your selfishness. You're more aware of your self-cherishing, and that's not a helpful state to be in. So then when you sort of get your head around that, and you become more patient because you're actually not getting as angry about things, or not as grasping about things, not getting upset about things so much, because you are thinking of others and trying to be less selfish. You actually become more patient. And patience is about not being angry. It's not about sort of gritting your teeth and being angry and just saying, I have to be patient. It's actually about anger doesn't arise. So you can sort of do, with your practices, you can get less and less. And I have not always, but I have, over time I've realised I am much less prone to reacting as strongly as I might have in the past, and maybe don't even react to things that might have really upset me. I'm not pushing my own agenda the whole time, or less so. So, and then when you sort of, it dawns on you that you're actually feeling a bit better and it is making you feel a bit more relaxed and a bit more happy, you develop what they call joyous effort. You sort of think, I want to keep doing this, it makes me feel good. And so you take joy in it. It's not painful. As soon as it becomes a chore, then it's not going to last very long. You can't sort of keep doing something if you're not enjoying it. So you start to actually enjoy these practices and feel really good about them. Then when you're less stressed, less angry, less attached, grasping at things all the time, your mind is freer. Your mind is clearer. You're not going, this and this happened and I'm so angry, or I need this, or I want this will make me happy if I get this, and I want that house down the beach, so I'll get Tatslotto tickets, and just constantly sort of wanting and needing things and thinking, well, that's what's going to make me really happy. But we know that these things come with their own problems anyway. But your mind is clearer. It's less full of anger and attachment, really, and you're just sort of clearer and your thoughts are a bit less hectic, and so you can concentrate better. And then all the time that you're doing these practices, you're meditating. We have meditations for all of this, and so your meditations get more powerful. And then that works more deeply within your heart and mind, and you feel better for that, so your concentration gets better. So all of the practices feed in to helping your concentration. And then with really good concentration, you can go into the sort of really looking at the meaning of reality, really looking at the meaning of love, the real meaning of compassion, what's causing us to have attachment that makes us unhappy, what's causing us to be angry and push other people away, or blame, or feel pride and jealousy and all of these things that make our minds go crazy. Why are we doing this? So you start to look more deeply at the causes for all of these negative states of mind and realise that you're actually sort of grasping at things that don't have any permanence to them. That everything is shifting all the time, and our perceptions are shifting all the time. The way we perceive things are not the way someone else perceives things. So everything is shifting and not existing in this concrete way that we project onto it or want it to be. We invest our happiness in this, and then when it doesn't work out, we're really, really unhappy. But it's because we've projected on and we've invested in something that doesn't really exist in the way that we see it or want it to be. So you need to have really good concentration to do the meditations and to sort of feel for these things to be really go deeply into your mind. So that's what all of the philosophy, all of the teachings is about. Is thinking. So they say you need to listen to the teachings, think about it, make sense of it for you. If it doesn't make sense, as the Dalai Lama says, throw it out with the rubbish. If it's not making any sense, you question it. Absolutely question everything. That's a big part of the philosophy. There's no dogma, and there are no silly questions either. It's really important that you feel it in your heart, that it makes sense to you. So you listen, you think about it, and then you meditate on it. And the meditation brings it, opens your mind. The meditations can sort of show you your mind and show you how and where all these emotions and everything sort of comes from, which is really our projection. So we'll do a little meditation now, just on the mind, and then I want to talk about what we call the 8 verses of thought transformation. Lucy, are you here? Could you grab me one of the books? Thank you. This is Lucy, the best person at Tara Institute. So always there to help. As it said in the newsletter, I'm going to talk about what we call the 8 verses of thought transformation. Thank you, dear.
Not that helpful.
Cheers. 68, was it? Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with some meditation. So, the meditation posture is sort of described as being quite important, and they say if you can get into full lotus, that's the most conducive position. So, good luck with that. I sit with one foot in front of the other. You can sit cross-legged, one foot on top of the other, and if you're on a chair, with your back straight. So the most important thing is to have your spine straight. So plant your feet and sit with your spine straight, because you're working with your mental energies. We're working with our mind, and the people who've done yoga, other things, they talk about the chakras. And so in Buddhism, they talk about chakras as well, and that your psychic energy kind of follows like your nervous system, but you have a mental sort of energy system as well. And we know mental energy waxes and wanes, so it's really important to have the spine straight, because and I do notice this if you're sort of meditating for a long time, you sort of tend to, you can slouch, or you can actually end up your head sort of drifts back. I did an online retreat recently, and some people leave their photo up. I don't when I'm meditating. I don't want anyone looking at me while I'm meditating, but there was someone sitting there, and I just had a quick look at the screen, and this woman was kind of like that, and she didn't realise. She would have, as soon as she realised. So if your head goes up, you get distracted. It actually brings in too much information. And if your head is down, you will fall asleep. It's sort of more, and again, it's about the spine being straight and the energy is travelling. So you sit cross-legged. The Tibetans put the left hand down and the right hand on top, with the thumbs touching in a sort of triangle. And again, that's about your energies travelling. And the thumb's sort of slightly pointing in towards the navel. You loosen the arms so that you're not sort of clinging. And that's the other thing I find myself, if I'm concentrating, I actually find my elbows are going in and I'm sort of hugging myself. And so you have to kind of loosen up, loosen your shoulders. So the eyes, the head just tilted forward slightly, not too far. And the tongue at the top of the palate, and the lips slightly parted, maybe just touching, just relaxed. And your eyes staring downwards. You can close your eyes, especially in the beginning. I think it's hard to have your eyes open. But they say to just have your eyes open, just a sliver, to let in a bit of light so you don't fall asleep. Because generally, and especially at this time of the evening after work or whatever, and you close your eyes, you might tend to drift off. So just relaxing and bringing your mind inward and focusing on the breath for a few breaths, on the inflow and the outflow. And letting go of any thoughts. Don't try to suppress them, just let them pass. And think of the mind as a clear space, like a clear sky, and your thoughts are just passing like clouds in the sky. And just let them go, and you'll find if you don't engage with them, don't follow the thought, it will dissipate and just dissolve back into your mind. And just constantly bringing your focus back to the breath. And it helps to count. So if you can count to 3 or 7 or 21, and if you lose the count, just bring yourself back to 1 and try and stay focused. And just don't worry too much, just letting your thoughts go, and then focus on the breath for a while. Okay, just bring your mind back to the room. And I think when you first start to meditate, if you're absolute beginners at this, and I find it, and it just happened to me then, your thoughts just go over here and over there and you kind of follow them. But it's really good if you can just let them go. As I said, I've just done this retreat in January, and that was the meditation that we did for the whole retreat, 6 sessions a day for 5 days, just watching the mind. And we'd start with the breath and then you would just watch the mind. So I can maybe do a bit of that next week, but you just watch your mind. And that the mind itself it's not physical. It didn't come from the sperm and the egg and the cells forming and growing you. That's matter. Your mind is not separate from the body, it's interdependent with the body, and it works through, all your sensations send messages to your brain, and your brain tells you that that's pain or pleasure or annoying, and you experience it. So you're actually experiencing it in your mind. It's messages sent through the chemicals in your brain that give you the experience, whether it's hearing or seeing or tasting or touching. It's not in and of itself. It has to actually send the message, and then you have a picture of it in your mind. So they say that most of what we're experiencing is within our own minds. And we know that everybody who's, we experience the same thing different ways. And that's because all of our experience, everything that's ever happened to us, has developed habits and ways of looking at things. And that's how we look at the world. So different people who have had different experiences will have different habits, different strengths, different likes, different dislikes. And then we all look at the world slightly differently. But it's all happening in your mind. It's all happening in our minds. It's not a physical thing that says, okay, I'm seeing the world differently because I'm here as this solid mass. It kind of doesn't make sense. It has to, our experiences have to kind of be experienced somewhere, somehow, other than just matter. Does that make sense? It's sort of, we just say, well, I'm feeling happy today. So I'm experiencing that in my mind, the happiness. Or I'm feeling a bit down today. I'm experiencing that in my mind. And that's due to circumstances and causes and conditions. And it doesn't mean that nothing's real. It's just the way we experience things is very, it's dependent on so many complicated causes and conditions. So that nothing sort of really exists as solidly as we seem to think it does. And we'll get into that more later. But when you're meditating, the definition of mind, and I should have started with this, is clear and knowing. So the definition, the Tibetans have definitions for everything, and it's all open to question, it's all open to debate, and they have they debate everything. And they're constantly questioning, constantly debating, trying to kind of get to what the Buddha was trying to sort of help us to understand. But the definition for mind is clear and knowing. So it's a clear space and it reflects everything. It knows stuff. It experiences stuff. So when you're sitting in your meditation and your thoughts come up and you're trying to let them go, you start to see, you might, you can maybe have this experience of just a bit of clarity that yes, the thoughts are just passing. They're just passing. And then if you haven't followed that thought, it's very easy to engage and start having a conversation in your head. But if you just let it go, it disappears back into the... Doesn't disappear, because nothing actually disappears. It just dissolves back into your mind. And that you need to, and it's hard work, but just watching your mind is a really powerful practice. They call it Maha Mudra. It's one of the most powerful practices that you can do, in just watching your mind and trying to get in touch with this clear space. And just watching your mind is a really great practice, because you can sort of see, you start to see what's happening. And if you can sort of practice just the letting go and letting it pass, you get this, just a sense of peace comes with it. You can see it's all in the mind. It's all, your mind. And you can watch your crazy mind. During the retreat, all sorts of stuff came up. Things I hadn't really wanted to think about. And they were clear as rain were coming up. So you can't suppress things either. But as these things came up that I didn't really want to think about, it was mostly stuff that there was nothing I could do about. I'd had a very difficult time at work last year, and I ended up leaving. And so I left. I wasn't angry at that point, but a lot of stuff had made me very upset. And then in the end I thought, I'm too old for this. I can't do this anymore. And so then I left. And I thought I was at peace with that. It was really good. I was glad I walked away. And walking away is a very healthy thing to do at times, if there's nothing you can do about a situation. And just during this retreat, it all started coming back. And I sort of realised, okay, so I'm still carrying some issues. And in fact, I was thinking about it today. In fact, I feel much better for having sort of confronted, having that sort of happen and realising, oh, okay, I'm still upset. And then thinking, right, the way to deal with it is to actually think kindly towards the people that did the harm, and start to see them as suffering beings, because to have bodhicitta you need to include your enemies as well. You need to include all sentient beings. So when I started to think about them, and I've been trying to do that all the way along. I'm aware of all of this. So like I say, I've been here for 30 years listening to this, how to do all of this, and it's really hard. It's really difficult. But I think this helped me through a difficult time. But it also now is really giving me some really good stuff to kind of work with for my practice. And I have moments of having compassion for these people and thinking, well, I can't. It's not even about I don't know how they sleep at night, because there's an element of that. But it's about, yeah, it's just... Bad behaviour is not a great way to live your life, and that's sad. It's not nice, and it must be causing difficulties in... No, I can't even predict what its other difficulties, but I just think they're just suffering human beings. They're just trying to be happy, like everybody else. And they really are just trying to be happy. And maybe they think that their bad behaviour is justified, and this is what they need to feel good in their job or about themselves. And I'm sure people, come across this all the time. It's not just me. And so it's not even, I don't know how happy or unhappy they are at this time, but I do know that they are trying to be happy, and that they are kind of going about it the wrong way, and that it's not going to be helpful to them in their own minds in the long run. But they deserve to be happy. They should be happy. And there are practices that you in fact maybe this meditation we'll do later touches on it, that I actually do wish them to be happy, and real happiness. Because so the definition of happiness is there a definition of happiness? It's love, is wanting the other to be happy. So for me, generating some sense of love for them, wanting them to be happy, makes me feel better, but I know that by generating love and compassion, that's a cause for my mind to feel happier, so that I know that I don't want them to be happy in their bad behaviour. I don't want them to be happy for the suffering that they're causing, and for they may be rejoicing in the suffering they're causing. That's not happiness. I want them to be really happy. I want them to really understand love. I want them to really come to understand that helping people is the way to be happy. Being kind to people is the way to be happy. The Dalai Lama says, my religion is simple, my religion is kindness. So that's the source of happiness. So that's what I wish for these people, that they would truly find a sense of happiness. And compassion is not wanting others to suffer. You're wanting to free others from suffering. So you're sort of trying to generate love and compassion for these people and pray that they find happiness. So it's another way of, it's a way of twisting, turning the perspective a little bit on things, and helping your own mind to feel at more peace. So I'll just read this 8 verses and touch on a few of the things that I've read about it. It was written by Geshe Langri Tengpa, and this was end of the 11th, early 12th century is when he lived. So, being determined to accomplish the highest welfare for all beings who excel the wish-fulfilling gem, I shall constantly hold them dear. When accompanying anyone, I shall view myself as the lowest of all, and in the depths of my heart shall hold dearly others as supreme. Examining my continuum throughout all actions, as soon as an emotional affliction arises that endangers myself and others, by facing it, I shall strictly avert it. When seeing a being of wicked nature, who is forced by violent wrongs and sufferings, I shall hold dear this one so hard to find, as though discovering a precious treasure. When others, out of jealousy, treat me badly with abuse, insults and the like, I shall accept their hard words and offer the other victory. When someone whom I have assisted and in whom I have placed great hope inflicts me with extremely bad harm, I shall view them as my supreme spiritual friend. In short, I shall offer benefit and bliss to all my mothers, in this actual life and in the future continuum, and secretly I shall take upon myself all the harms and sufferings of my mothers. Also, having not defiled all these by the stain of preconceptions of the 8 worldly feelings, and by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, free from attachment, I shall be released from bondage. Now, I'm sure hearing this for the first time, it's very confronting. It sounds wrong. Some of it sounds really not quite right. And so I'll address the first 2 verses tonight very quickly and sort of explain. So, by being determined to accomplish the highest welfare for all beings who excel the wish-fulfilling gem, I shall constantly hold them dear. So the first 2 lines being determined to accomplish the highest welfare for all beings, that's bodhicitta, wishing to free myself, to become enlightened, to do everything I can to benefit, in order to benefit others. So that at the moment, my computer's too big. I had a smaller one, but I like the big screen. It's not great for this. being determined to accomplish the highest welfare for all beings to excel the wish fulfilling gem, I shall constantly hold them dear. So it's that thing of whatever happens, seeing it as a way to generate love and compassion, seeing it as a way to bring it to your practice. And they call this thought transformation. So in the end, the people that get really good at this, like the lamas who've been practicing this all their lives, and when you meet them, they're these kind of gentle folk who you don't realise how extraordinarily intelligent and kind and compassionate they are, but they just kind of radiate something. This is what they do all day. They're sort of they exist in order to benefit other beings, and that who excel the wish fulfilling gem, I shall constantly hold them dear. So the wish fulfilling gem is something they refer to. It's like winning Tats Lotto. You can get everything you've ever wished for, but more and more. You can get health. You can get wealth, you can get everything from a wish-fulfilling gem. And they're saying that this idea of bodhicitta will generate greater happiness than a wish-fulfilling gem, because all of those things that we think that we need for us to be happy, whether it's a nice house, a car, relationships, whatever we invest in, are all fading all the time and changing, and will never entirely satisfy us, and often come with their own problems. When we actually get what we want, it can create a whole another ball game of issues and problems for us. And so they're saying this idea of bodhicitta is greater than gaining everything you ever thought you needed or wanted to be happy. And that holding others dearly as supreme is your ticket out, is greater than the wish-fulfilling gem. And so you constantly hold them dear. The Dalai Lama also refers to, he talks about his Chinese brothers and sisters, that he's really thankful to them for teaching him the true meaning of compassion. So that's where this goes, if you can work with it. So he really, he's had, you know, he's devoted his life to his people and his country, and people that leave Tibet come and always, he will meet them. There's always this there's a system that if people climb over the mountains and escape from Tibet, they will come to see the Dalai Lama, and he'll give them an audience. And so everything he does is to try and help his people. But he absolutely holds he's not angry, and he has compassion for his Chinese brothers and sisters. And he understands that fundamentally life is suffering of one form or another, and just teaches. And I've been to teachings in India with him where I think this one time they said there were 400,000 people there, which is like 4 times the MCG. You know, that's how many people were sort of living in the dirt and the streets and the tents and the whatever to sort of listen to him, because that's how he inspires people. And so he's the shining example of this. So what else? Any action we do with bodhicitta makes a powerful imprint on our mind stream. Everything you've ever thought, everything you've ever done is not lost. It's in there. It's in your mind stream. So that by getting angry, it creates a habit. So when we get upset about things, we and releasing your anger, and some forms of therapy might say, go off and, I don't know, beat something up with a baseball bat. I don't know, go and release your anger and express your anger, or go and do boxing and express your anger and stuff. But this philosophy would sort of say, well, then you're kind of feeding into the anger. It's slightly dodgy territory. And so what you need to do is generate these thoughts of kindness and love as an antidote to the anger, and generating patience as an antidote to the anger. But actually, when you do these practices, and that's why meditation comes in, we need to practice, we need to meditate. It's a slow process. This is not something that happens overnight, but you start to slightly shift your mind slowly, and that those become the imprints on your mind. Those become the habits in your mind. And the Dalai Lama also says you can't have compassion and anger at the same time. You can't have the two opposing things going on in your mind at the same time. You've either got one or the other. And it's sort of interesting, because then that kind of explains why if someone's really angry or is projecting something, or, is caught up in bad behaviour, very hard for them to get out of that, because it's self-perpetuating. And that's why it's really hard to kind of reason with unreasonable people, because they're kind of trapped in those habits of thinking. So that what we're trying to do is break those habits, because we do it too. And with the antidote, so that by having compassion in your mind, you can't in that moment have anger. So we do meditations on love and compassion to try and develop stronger antidotes. And it counteracts your self-centeredness. It counteracts this me, I'm so outraged. Or why don't they know I'm so fabulous? Why aren't I acknowledged for all the good that I do? It stops all of that sort of chatter in our heads about me, when you're thinking about generating love and compassion for others. And that's in the second verse, when accompanying anyone, I shall view myself as the lowest of all, and in the depths of my heart shall hold dearly others as supreme. So that means not about, I'm so low, I'm terrible, I'm really bad. It means holding others as supreme, holding others as important, listening to other people's viewpoints, seeing other people as worthy as yourself. Because we want to kind of have the attention. We want things for ourselves, and we all do, and we all deserve them. But so does everybody else. So that we have to sort of stop this sort of like me first thing and think, well, other people have opinions and have rights and deserve to be happy as well. So if you can sort of let go, and I've had this experience a couple of times with a friend of mine. You end up talking about life and death and the meaning of and how, what happens when you die and stuff. And he has all these ideas about this and this and this, and then I have this system here that has explained a few things to me, and it sort of makes sort of sense to me. So I start trying to talk about the mind and the continuum of the mind, and he goes, no, it's like blah, 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 blah. And I'm sort of like, do I keep trying to talk about what Buddhist philosophy would explain, or do I let him go? And I'm having to learn, let him talk. He has his version of what he thinks happens, and I'm willing to listen to that and let him have that, because I know he's not interested. And it's really not, especially for a Buddhist, you shouldn't really be going, oh, the Buddha said, blah, 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 blah. It sounds ridiculous. Nobody's interested. That's stupid religious stuff. So you don't really talk about it unless someone asks. And then you might sort of, if someone asks, they're interested, well then, yeah, maybe. But I have to be really careful And I know when I first got involved in here, and I was very excited about some of the things I was learning and sort of talking to friends. I was so embarrassed. And I was talking to a friend recently, and I calmed down after a while and stopped banging on, and so I was sort of thinking, you'd be really interested in this, you'd really like this, and sort of like that, and now I realised, people aren't interested. They don't. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. That's up to them. And I was talking to this friend recently, and she said, "Oh my God, Clare, you were sort of banging on a bit back then." I said, "I'm so sorry. I was really embarrassed because that's not cool. It's actually, I shouldn't have done it, but I didn't know any better at the time." And so you have to have people have their own opinions and have their own versions of things. And it's sort of like, that's how the world should be. And what just happened in America was everyone ended up hating each other. The countries completely split. They weren't listening to each other and they didn't care about the other side. And that's the world that we've come to. It's sort of like my way or the highway. And so Buddhism's not like that. And it's like, let other people have their time in the sun. Let them have their space. Let them have their everything. And then what happens and this happened with my sister and myself, we fought all our lives, but when I started sort of calming down and listening to her more and not arguing with her and not trying to press her buttons, like we were really good at pressing each other's buttons, we had a better relationship when I stopped arguing with her. And I knew that that's what was going on because she didn't want to hear anything from me. She didn't want it. So she wasn't interested. And it would always end up being really like, like that. And so when I kind of stopped buying in and letting her have her opinions and not arguing and not threatening, we had a really good relationship. It actually worked really well in the end, and we got on really, really well. Whereas I thought that I would sort of, she and I would never sort of speak again after a couple of incidences from our early life. But we ended up having a really good relationship because I stopped pressing her buttons. Didn't mean she'd stop pressing mine. But I got to understand that and not take the bait. And that was really helpful to her because she didn't then feel frightened around me or, she wasn't going to get an argument. So there's just a thing here that Dalai Lama mentions Mother Teresa. He really liked her. And he quotes her as saying that she said, where is it? When I'm hungry, give me someone that I can feed. And when I'm thirsty, give me someone who needs a drink. When I'm cold, give me someone to keep warm. And when I grieve, give me someone to console. So, cherishing others takes away the unhealthy egocentric emphasis on ourselves and heals us. I'll do a short meditation. Which one? So all the negative thoughts that we have and the negative actions that we do or have done, it's all there. And like I say, my relationship with my sister, I behaved very badly when we were young, and I didn't think I was behaving badly. Again, I thought I was looking out for myself. I was trying to be happy, but it manifested in bad behaviour. And I don't know, have you ever seen that show? I've just been watching it a bit recently. It's Long Lost Family or something on the ABC, and people search for their. Basically, it's mostly about people that were adopted, and they go back and search for their birth mother or family or something. And one guy I was watching just yesterday or something, he was given up for adoption, and he ended up in a really bad family. It's in England. It's set in England, and he said that his adoptive parents were not very nice, and they were really cold, and he had a terrible life. And he said as a teenager he ended up in a lot of trouble with the police and stuff like that. So, you know, you don't know who or what causes people to behave the way they do. You sort of think, yes, he would have he's done some bad things, but he was confused and angry, and just trying to sort of find a way out and trying to find happiness. And I think that's an extreme sort of version of it, and I think it's just something that we all do to a degree. So that we then learn to understand this is what everyone else is doing. This is what people do. This is why they behave the way they behave. It's because of everything that's ever happened to them has brought them to that place, and they haven't got their head straight, and they are deluded. And there's other things I read, you know, if a truth is still a truth, even if everyone else agrees with the lie. So, and a lie is still a lie. So, we just have to kind of, you know, be kind to ourselves and be kind to others. I'm prattling on a bit. We'll do a nice meditation. So that's where I was going. All the negativities, all our bad behaviours, everything that we've ever done is still there. And in this system of meditation, they have what they call purification practices. But next week I'll talk about a different way of doing this meditation. But so this is called the Body of Light meditation. So simple purification. So we're just filling ourselves with love and compassion in this, basically, filling ourselves with light and love and compassion, and we're doing it in order to purify our negative states, to purify our anger, to purify our over-attachment and our jealousy and our pride and everything else that sort of is disturbing to our minds and from our past, you know, all the negative things that we've done. So this is a purification practice, and they say that there's nothing that can't be purified, even the worst of crimes that can't be purified. And that so we clear our minds, and it just helps to bring a sense of peace within us. So it's also about, you know, you've got to own things as well, but you can do this generally, or you can do it for specific. So this simplified meditation contains the essence of purification, letting go of problems and mistakes and seeing them as temporary obscurations rather than an intrinsic part of our nature. It helps us get in touch with and develop our natural good energy. So again, any negative, anything, all of our negativities, whatever, they're just passing as well. They're not part of this clear knowing mind. They're not an intrinsic part of it, they're just passing. So that we're always trying to get back to this clear knowing space. Okay, so sitting comfortably and relaxed. Take a few moments to bring the mind inwards. Settle in the here and now. Bring to mind a beneficial reason as to your motivation for doing the meditation, such as wishing to become more free from negative energy so that you can be more helpful and less harmful to others. Turn your attention to your breath for a moment, breathing normally, and observe the full duration of every inhalation and then exhalation. Just letting go of any thoughts, focusing inwards on the breath. Now imagine when you inhale, all the positive energy in the universe enters your body in the form of pure, blissful, radiant white light. Visualize this white light, pure and blissful, filled with love and compassion, universal love and compassion, filling every part of your body, filling every cell, every atom, making you relaxed, light and blissful. Breathing in this visualization with every inhalation. Breathing in blissful, radiant white light. Now begin to breathe out dark smoke with every exhalation. Imagine that all your negative energy, past mistakes, distorted conceptions, and disturbing emotions leave your body, leaving the body with the breath in the form of dark smoke or fog. This smoke goes out into space where it disappears completely. Just imagine that the smoke becomes non-existent in the environment. So breathing in this blissful white light filled with love and compassion for yourself and for all other sentient beings. And then breathing out all your negativities. And feel confident that you have freed yourself of every trace of faults and negativity. Breathing out the dark smoke of your problems, breathing in the white light of good energy. When you're distracted by thoughts or other experiences, simply observe them without reacting or getting involved. and just letting them pass. You can also transform these distractions into dark smoke and breathe them out into oblivion. So we'll conclude the meditation by dedicating a positive energy to all beings, finding everlasting happiness and peace of mind. And bring your mind back to the room. So, are there any questions? We've gone a bit over time, but if anyone has any thoughts or questions. Okay.